Okay, here we are. Does I sound like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh? Uh, Once again, down to the wire, but happy days here. Wednesday, December 7th, and Scott's here at the beginning of the show. Not on the tail end, but here at the onset. Thaddeus, the Dealio, we know who you are. Brandon, uh, brisket and bitrate. Bit rates and brisket, 3 dongles down on another Wednesday here at the C47, coming to you from the barn somewhere in Oregon. And welcome to another live stream. It's not all worked out here, but I think we're getting closer to, or I'm getting closer to working out the pieces of this little puzzle of this space, especially for creating training content. I'm going to take you through that in a few minutes and tell you what the setup is. I'm going to do more of that in the future. Brisket, that's my barbecue. If I got to pick one thing, it's going to be brisket. And I only know one person locally who can do it right. Otherwise, I'm going to Texas. What are you going to do? So, this is what we do here on the channel. We have like 7 people that show up and we hang out for an hour. Maybe we'll get up to 17. But speaking of, a little housekeeping, next Wednesday is going to be our final episode of Camera and Flask for the year. Myself, Caleb Pike, and Ben Barden, we will be discussing our favorite gear, our one favorite thing from 2022, and obviously hanging out with everybody, having drinks, leaded or unleaded, and having a good time. I'm assuming picture is okay. I'm assuming sound is okay. I'm looking at Ecamm. I've got levels. I did my update. I've been a good boy. And Scott says, I don't want Jem thinking I only ever show up on the last 5 minutes. Sometimes I show up in the first 5 minutes. Yeah. Scott's probably gone now. I think he said hey to Brandon, and then that's it. Oliver, hey. All right, kids. So we're getting close to the end of 2022, which is probably a good thing, depending on how 2023 turns out. I'm not holding my breath based on the way the world has been going over the last few years, but I have hope. I'm a glass half full kind of person, and that's the way I roll. Definitely experiencing the lack of immunity from everybody staying inside over the last month or so, meaning staying inside for so long. The amount of people who are sick, including in my family, and everybody's gotten over it now, is just redonkulous. Don't tell me it's not happening in your region of the world, because it is. I know. I don't even have to ask. Yeah. And this is Scott, by the way, from Earth 2. So maybe it's Earth 3 Scott. Who knows? Picture and sound are good. Thank you, Thaddeus. As always, when we're doing live streams, unless I say otherwise, maybe I'm doing a demonstration and then it's a shh. Questions and answers are welcome. Or questions. You might be answering some of the questions in the chat. And it would help me tremendously if you put an at the C47 before a question for me, or when you're just trying to get my attention about something. Thank you for the thumbs up, whoever that was. You never know who the thumbs up are from, But here we are. We're a few minutes in, and with a whopping double digits. It's 10, Scott. It's 11, including myself, because I'm looking at myself in the teleprompter. Colin, good. Colin, it's not just COVID that's going around. We got influenza A and all kinds of bronchial things. And my son, I just took to urgent care this past weekend. He relapsed, but not the same thing. And then it was bacterial, so antibiotics. Yeah, it's all good now. It's all happening. Take care of yourself, drink lots of fluids, wash your hands, be smart about life, and we'll all get through. What? I'm up to 13. 13 people. It's ridiculous. 14, including myself. All right, let's talk. Any questions, by the way? Phil's here. And 2022 was Phil's best year ever for business. Ever. So that's awesome. So I hope your 2023 is going to be your best year ever again. So you beat this year. Off to shoot for Cisco today. Colin, have fun if you're heading out right now. Question from Phil. What was your most useful gear purchase this year? That's next week, Phil. Cameron Flask. Come on by or watch the replay if you so dare. What do we want to chat about for a couple of minutes? I mean, I can get right into this and then we can chat. Bill says, Jem, how are you liking the Fuji X-H2S? I like the camera very much. I would say my biggest gripe with the camera is just not really a gripe, but I think we kind of knew it going in. It's not the strongest in the AF system. I'm going to make it a little, hold on. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. A little adjustment to the microphone. Yeah, it's the AF. I wish it had a better AF system. So that's the one little drool that you see when I'm looking at that FX30. But other than that, I mean, fantastic hybrid camera, image quality's amazing, internal recording options are great. There really are times though where I would like the AF system to be stronger on the camera. And it's not every situation. I mean, you can definitely work around that, and we have been. But when you start to use cameras that have, no camera has a 100% reliability in terms of AF, but when you use cameras that have very reliable AF systems, you miss it when you go to another camera. So that's the reality. But besides that, love the film simulations, RAW, ProRes, tons of choices inside of that camera. So really good. Panasonic Cinema Line. What's going on there? Well, you and me both, Colin. I mean, it's really, at the moment, in the mirrorless realm. And whether or not they decide to show up for the party again in the digital cinema realm, I don't know. They're obviously in the full frame game. It's interesting because you've got Panasonic and their Micro Four Thirds full frame. You've got Fuji, their APS-C / Super 35 and medium format. And then everybody's basically APS-C / Super 35 and full frame when it comes to Canon and that little company called Sony and blah, blah, blah. But Sony, my goodness. Sensors. Just you wait 3 years from now in a smartphone. I mean, I would predict in 2023 we're going to see a big jump in terms of sensor technology in smartphones, but it's going to get crazy. Rumors say phase detect for Panasonic 2023. That would be great. Depends on what they're going to do and what cameras they're going to put it in. I think they are long overdue for a digital cinema camera to take the place of the EVA line. I mean, they had the gall to call it the EVA 1, meaning we should expect it too, right? I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, it's interesting. I've been a Panasonic, I've been an everything user for a long time. But DVX 100 on the shelf back there. I think it's the B. I have to remember. I don't know. But love it. Image. SD, but fantastic image. A little oversaturated, but definitely that Panasonic look. And then they came out with the HVX line, which I didn't love as much. And that's when I went into the EX1 from Sony. which, you know, again, Sony's really in the last couple of years or so started to work out the color science thing in terms of what I think we like an image to look like. Sort of that, you know, video-ish color profile that they had for so long still exists in their cameras, but now they're getting it. It's a beautiful thing, I think. Yeah, an L mount EVA 2 would be great. What other chatty questions do we have here? We might as well get that out of the way. And we're holding strong here. Are we at 13? I don't know. Could drop off at any moment unless somebody asks a question in the chat. Or as it's called in Ecamm Live, comments and reactions. So do you have a comment or a reaction for me? One thumbs up. I don't know what happens when somebody does a favorite. Is that me making a favorite? The other thing I'd like to ask, and you know, I'm just being lazy, is when I put somebody's comment up like this, how do I make it so it's smaller? How do I resize that? I don't know how to do that. Maybe do I have to do it live? Do I go in? I don't know. Oh yeah, look. Oh, sorry. There's that. Now I'm going to say, Colin, you're out. And I'm going to pull up another one here. Remembers. Silly me. All right. Well, I learned something today. Wait a second. You gave how thick of a smoke ring do you like in your brisket? I gave the thumbs up because I care. I'd say pretty thick. I mean, I like a really nice bark on my brisket, but I like a balance of smoke, because if it's too much smoke for me, then I feel like it's overwhelming and I don't want to eat as much brisket, which is probably good for my body, but it's not good for my soul. And I want to eat all the other stuff too. I want to eat, depending on where you are, you know, the sides. Some good mac and cheese, collard greens, I love. You know, and you got to have something with some acid in there too, whether that's going to be a barbecue sauce, if you're going to have that. I'm not going to put it on the brisket ever. Or just like a really tangy coleslaw. I love to make a coleslaw that is a couple of different types of cabbage. I like to use white balsamic vinegar, which I like very much, with olive oil, and also like Honeycrisp apples, thinly sliced, like matchstick size, little small matchsticks, almost like bigger than a matchstick, but you get the idea, right? Long, kind of square. Come on. I like a good coleslaw, and I put some carrots in there. Trick with carrots, by the way, is if you grate your own carrots. The problem with that, and by the way, I hate bagged like crinkle cut carrots. They just flavorless. But if you're making coleslaw, buy bagged carrots and make sure they look dry, because if you grate it, there's so much water content there. It's going to take a lot to take it out. Now you could get a big spinner and you can do that. It works pretty well. I just find texturally, the ones in the bag are a little more matchsticky. Dill pickles. I'm a half sour person. And Camille from the Netherlands. Yes. Camille hangs out. He's everywhere. David, what's happening? I don't know how I'm supposed to say GA, lowercase I, PS. Everything else is uppercase. Anyone in this chat using Blackmagic Ultimatte 12 products? Well, I had the mini, Ultimatte 12 mini in, and it's so amazing as a keyer. I was just doing some testing with it. Much better than the keyer in here. Much more flexible. The issue I have is that you have to connect it over Ethernet I don't quite get it. I get it from a networking standpoint and you're in a broadcast scenario, but a single user should be able to take that product, especially the mini camera, boom, into that, USB-C hook up to your computer, go into the software control for that, get your stuff set up, and then it should just work. Like, you should be able to pull in your signal and then get that into your computer. And I don't want to be messing with networks and IP addresses and all that. And unfortunately, I live in the country and I can't set up in here the way I want to. I'm running this whole situation, if you will, off of a Wi-Fi hotspot. It's bonkers, but the next best internet I can get is worse over satellite. So come on, Elon, stop buying Twitter and making a mess with your $44 billion and just get me some internet. I need some Starlink here that's reliable. I want like 100 up and like 500 down. I'm fine with that. I'll deal with that. I make it work. Yeah. Okay. So now how many people do we have? Not that I'm going to get 14. That's probably Camille coming in. And people like the dill pickle comment. What else we got? We're trying to keep Scott here. We don't want him to get bored. We know they're going to be dropping like flies in a few minutes. Which Ultimate 12 version do you have? Mini HD? That is the product that I tested. And I did like it, but I did have these dropouts. Again, part of it's my problem in terms of how I'm set up here. But part of me says, can't we just have a situation, especially for things like virtual production, where I don't have to plug in an Ethernet cable to make this thing work? You should be able to set it up and then just, boom, use it. And I want all my controls. That's my gripe with the Ultimate. But you know what? The keying, my goodness, it is amazing, the things that you can do and how good it is. I mean, you just take this and you just use it and boom, and there's no problems. And it's just, I can't even tell you how good it is. Well, I just did. It's really good. Except for the connection crap. He just got approved for 9,500 sats, so more is coming. That's nothing. Am I going to get one of those? Probably not. I looked it up. I'm on the beta, not beta list. I'm on the wait list. I'll pay the money. As long as the speed's decent and it's reliable, I'm there. Smash the like button, y'all. Camille said it, not me. I don't know if it helps. I don't know. Does it help in live streams? I have no idea. You know, I like being in here and working on stuff, going on the road, doing production. This whole SEO thing and everything else, I mean, more power to you. I can't figure it out. All right. I'm just looking at comments, having a moment, thinking about life, contemplating what I'm going to say next. Though you don't, do you? You just talk. Like Scott knows this. I don't know how it happens when I'm teaching or I'm doing these things. You just start and hopefully somebody's saying something in the comments and reactions. And then you're having the equivalent of a conversation that's seemingly with yourself, but you're really doing it with other people. Technically, it does help to smash the like button. But if you smash it too hard, it's broken, and then you can't smash it again. Is that true? Is that the tree in the woods? Not really. Filmic Pro came out with an update. Interestingly, you can go back to the previous version because I had a license for that. But it would have been really great if when you downloaded it in iOS, it could archive it or let you access the previous or something. Because now, unbeknownst to me, though it seemed that way, unbeknownst to me, it kind of forces you into a new subscription model. I mean, it's a great app if you're using it all the time. One-time fee, boom. I'm just not a big subscription person. What camera and capture card are you using with Ecamm? I'm using Cameras, which I'll be talking about. And I guess my capture card is an ATEM Mini Pro. This is the original ATEM Mini that I bought. One of the things I'm trying to do and I think there's a way to do it with Captivate, which is a pain in the ass. I don't want to do it. And I also think you need networking, which I freaking hate. It just makes my brain hurt. I want to be able to control my A10 Mini Pro with my A10 Mini. I know it's possible, but I just want to plug in, and I'm going to say it, an Ethernet cable, but just so I can switch, not connect to the network and all that stuff. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. I just wish I could daisy chain it easily, because what I want to do is I want to put one of these over there, back in the studio. So when I walk over to a different part of the studio, I don't have to set up my iPad and then drag the software control from the A10 Mini over to the iPad so I can switch. It's a pain in the ass. All right. Filmic Pro still opens though. So check this out. It's still opening. There it is. And I can still do a clean HDMI out. I'm sure if I try to start recording, it's going to throw up, but it does work for my purpose that I'm using it for, at least in here, which is to be able to use my phone to get a clean HDMI out. I can use it as a camera to show people things pretty quickly, which I'll do in a couple of minutes. All right, let's see what we got here. No more subscriptions for me, Scott says. Phil abandoned Filmic Pro. This whole subscription thing is bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. David Carroll says, I got to direct for the first time on a short film. It was a learning project for everyone on the crew to try a job they've never done before, which is a great way to do it. I also had to light, so you're a DP director. It went better than I thought. Good. Don't get too confident. No, I'm just kidding. That's awesome, David. You definitely have come a long way in the last couple of years. You are doing what you need to do. Phil considered DaVinci Resolve. Yep. Fusion, Photoshop. Use Photopea. And some people are using, what's it called? Oh my God. Affinity Photo. Resolve an iPad. Seems great so far. Cool. David says, hey, David. Cool. All right. And what are we at? Oh my God. Wait, we almost had more people, and then it went back down to 14. I'm just playing around by checking the numbers. It's all silly. If we get to 20, man, that's gangbusters. Dry lips in the winter. Burt's Bees. What you gonna do? All right, kids. Let's talk about the studio setup, or at least the current evolution of it, which I will be working on even more next week, the week after. I'm gonna do a interview lighting workshop with LAPPG in January. Mark your calendars. Wednesday, January 18th, I believe. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a live stream. Then from 4 to 5 Pacific time, I'm going to be doing testing and setting up for the lighting workshop. And then from 5 to 6, I do the LAPPG, which is a Los Angeles post-production group. But as you know, people who are in post, a lot of people are in production, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. Is it Gapes? Gapes? Gapes. I'm going Gapes. Though I would expect an E in there. It stands for something. It has to be an acronym. Maybe I don't want to know what it is. I can't see the avatar too well. It looks like a 50s thing. You know, I'm old. The screen's over there. You saw it. I wish Adobe would do a la carte. Good luck with that. Now, that said, as much as I am annoyed, that's bullshit, with the whole subscription thing, if Adobe didn't move to a subscription model, I think they'd be effed, quite honestly. So there's going to be a lot of haters and a lot of complaining, but I think it's the thing that in many ways kept them going. So business strategy wise, it was probably smart, I think. I mean, we're getting to this point, here's a good one. Capture One. Fantastic product if you're a still photographer. But they get you. You're like, all the Luminaire products are kind of like that too. loving some of the stuff that they do with AI and stuff like that. And I pop into their round tripping, edit with, blah, blah, blah. Um, but there's kind of this mentality now. Well, if you're going to pay for the product and you're going to just do a one-time fee, we're going to entice you so much with the future versions, and we're not going to let you upgrade for, you know, for a very little amount of money. And I just got a notification from Caption One today that their whole model is changing starting next year. So it's getting a little funky right now. My assumption is it's going to happen in the you kind of see it with art list and those types of things with the whole footage royalty free licensing space too. That's I don't know what's going to go on. It's messy business out there, and the only two companies who are kind of giving you everything for the duration for the most part are Blackmagic Design with Resolve, it seems to be, and Apple with Final Cut Pro. That's sort of like, can you imagine you pay $299 over a decade ago, whether you loved it or hated it, for Final Cut Pro 10X, whatever you want to call it, and you're still getting free updates. Now, you could argue, and there's no argument there, that because you're constantly buying their hardware and everything, it makes sense. But with Blackmagic, I mean, you literally could have just bought one product for like $299, and then you have what's seemingly a perpetual license to the full version of DaVinci Resolve. It's a beautiful thing. Are they going to go to a subscription model? I doubt it, but you never know. You know what is going to be really interesting? I feel like I'm, I don't know, talking about a lot of stuff today. This whole XR thing. So apparently Apple is now taking their new OS for what would have been virtual reality, and they're going to label XR, which is sort of the umbrella name for everything. It's augmented reality, virtual reality, 3D, your meta world, all that crap. So is there going to be authoring tools that Apple's going to make available for this? Because right now we have a little bit of a brick wall for virtual production, which is a big brick wall, which is something called Unreal Engine. And of course, it's not even a frenemy situation between Apple and Epic, but it's like going into Resolve or Photoshop or something like that. If you want to build and interact with and design environments, you got to have a lot of knowledge. And in the corporate world, if we want to take real cameras and lighting and we want to tie those into virtual cameras and lighting, I'm not saying that it should be completely easy, but I could see if there were going to be some authoring tools from Apple that maybe we could start pushing into some areas in virtual production, which would be a little easier for us. You imagine we could take your mirrorless camera, pop a tracker on there, take one or two lights, pop trackers on there, and then just go into an authoring tool and build a room or download an already designed room that has boundaries. So you can look up, you can look down, you can look left, you can look right, but maybe you can only look left and right 180 degrees as opposed to 360 degrees. You can move into that room, you can move back from that room to a certain point in the boundaries. And then you can tie in metadata or information from your camera and your lights. Big database, not impossible. And set 0 in the world, and Bob's your uncle. But has anybody done it yet? Cine Tracer was kind of on that track. I really thought Matt Workman was going to make a video game and really push that, but he's really into metahumans right now and stuff like that, which, I think is great. You've got to go down the track or the path that you're taking or that is inspiring you or you're passionate about. But I kind of feel like this virtual production thing, there's room for another player or players. and it can happen, I think. I haven't read any rumors, Colin, about who's going to use that ATOMOS 8K sensor. Is ATOMOS? I don't know. I mean, I think as a company, ATOMOS is a very different company than they were 2 or 3 years ago. To me, for very obvious reasons. But whether or not they just want to develop a sensor and have other people use it, or they're looking to get into the market and compete with other companies in the space, will be interesting to see. I have no knowledge whatsoever about it. I mean, a company coming out with an 8K sensor isn't, a huge thing. It just really depends what it can do and what's Sony developing, because that's who most people are going to for sensor technology. Not everybody, but for sure, and maybe I shouldn't be thinking about our regular cameras as the gateway to virtual production. Maybe it's going to be these things right here. It probably is. Let's be honest. All right, we're at the halfway mark, or a minute past. Scott is smoking a stogie and probably a brisket at this moment. He's in a very big, comfortable chair somewhere in that state, that big old state down there, hanging out. All right, so let's take a look at the space. All right, so this is about the same, right? This is the frame. This is the A camera frame for the space. And what I'm trying to do is solve 2 problems right now. Watch yourself, Scott. I'm trying to solve 2 problems. The first problem that I'm trying to solve is I want to be able to do more dynamic live streams. So when I'm doing something live, I want to use Ecamm, which is a great product, seemingly getting better and better all of the time. And between Ecamm, A10 Mini product, Stream Deck, which I have a pretty good relationship with. I like it. I mean, it lets me do certain things in terms of switching and different people who are coming in. That was a bad switch I did there because I accidentally hit I have like a little zoom button for a shot right there. There you go. Which is just the same camera, but you can go in and do a zoom and pan for a different setting and then assign it to a button in Stream Deck. And then I pressed on what would be normally Caleb's button there. I have another setup which is just for solo streams, but it auto-loaded this one because that's the one I had set up as default, and I use it with Zoom, and it's good. I said you were off smoking a stogie and a brisket, and probably like this with your arms behind your head, just chillaxing. So the live streaming thing, I kind of have figured out, but there's some other components to it. But the second touch portal. The second part of it is I want to do essentially live edits. I want to be able to reach over here, and when let me just move this water with lime over here. I want to be able to switch between my different cameras here, but I don't want to have something, though I could do it. I don't really want to have something like Ecamm open, which will record if I wanted to, from a live stream. So technically, I could do a live edit that way as I'm switching and then take that recording. But the quality is like, it's okay, right? But what I really want to do is I want to be able to switch to different cameras. I want to be able to move around this space. And I probably should have used my wireless headset today so I can talk about stuff, but I didn't because I'm stupid. But here, I'll just put this upside down, I guess. So, I can switch between these different, where's my focus point? I didn't actually set this to autofocus. So I can just set my different cameras over here, but then how do I handle the recording? And I looked into it, and if you're using something like the ATEM Mini ISO version, then what you can do is you can hook up an SSD, for instance, and you can record that program stream. And a program stream is basically when you're switching cameras. It's this. That's your program, right? So if you wanted to look at it as a multi-view or individual cameras, you could do, or isolated cameras, you could do that too. But your program is what goes out to the audience. So how do I handle that? Well, the way I'm going to handle it, and I guess I'll just switch over to the to the phone setup, is this way. I'm going to just switch over. Let's make sure we have that right. So there's my standard setup. That's where I see all the comments and reactions over there. And that's when I'm directing or doing Zoom, I'm looking at the teleprompter. There's a second camera over there. That's an X-T4. But over here is, I think, probably going to be my key to the castle here, which is, this is a Shogun. It could be a Ninja V. It could be a Blackmagic design. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking the HDMI out of my ATEM Mini Pro, and I'm feeding that into an external monitor recorder. So that way I can look at the program stream. Oh, here, I think this will work. Yeah, so I'll switch back here. There's the multi-view that gets pushed out of the ATEM Mini Pro. So if you've got that HDMI out, I can switch here. That's multi-view or MV. I can take a look at each of my individual cameras here, even before switching. Or I can just go to program stream, which would be what you're seeing as I'm switching between the different cameras. So I think that's the key to the castle there when it comes to being able to handle that stuff. I think I'm just going to have to record. And then, of course, if you're going to... Thanks, Scott. Well, it's 16 plus me, so I'll take 17. Maybe it said that at some point. If I'm going to go ahead and go to a device like a Shogun or a Ninja V, Shogun I have a Ninja V, but the Shogun has a bigger screen, and there's really, for my purposes and what I'm doing, no real upside to the Ninja V that I can see in this workflow. So I've got an SSD plugged into there, and I can do ProRes, I can do 422, I can do HQ, I can do LT, I've got options there. And then I can, in essence, do a show like this, switch, which is why I'm trying to get this to also work over there without having to do it with an iPad, walk around the space, do a workshop, do some training, and then take that program stream and basically have a video. Now, the disadvantage I could see compared to the ISO, and I don't know what the quality is of that recording. I don't think it's nearly as good as ProRes on an external recorder. The disadvantage is I don't, without having to go back to and rolling on all of those cameras, have individual isolated recordings. So that's probably the downside to that, because though there is a product that ATOMOS makes, which lets you switch. And I'm wondering if I use that product and I come into it, if I'll also have... I would have to feed my cameras into it, though. Interesting. But probably not the product I want. Maybe the product I want to use. All right. Just by the way, if you wanted to get any insight into the way my mind works, you're seeing it right now. I talk out loud. Sometimes to myself as I'm trying to figure things out. And then based on trying things, trial and error, not that I'm the only one that does this, I start to figure out there might be a better, more efficient way to do this. Because I hate apps, to be honest with you. if I have to open up an app and click with a mouse and do things like that, I like buttons. I like things that have cables to things that are hardware based and have physicality to them. And every time I have to think about connecting something and then an IP address and then opening a software program, other than to do a dedicated task, it makes my brain hurt. And what I mean by that is, if I'm working in something like Capture One or Final Cut or whatever the app is, that's a dedicated app. That has a job. I'm trying to work with media and get something done, and it has its own, in a way, tunnel vision. But when it has to do with all of this stuff and making cameras and everything communicate with each other, that's what makes my head hurt when I have to open up software. ISO is amazing for the separate recordings. You also get resolve timeline. I know about that, of your live stream that you can change. What's the quality like, though, Colin? In reality, like, what is happening with your signals that are coming from your cameras? And what's the deal with that? I don't know. Yeah, I looked at those YOLO boxes, and thank you for the nice comment. If you want lighting that doesn't reflect so much, just bounce it. I'm not saying it's just bouncing. And you can see there's a little bit right here. That's because I have the key light turned a little bit. Let me see. I'll plug back in and we can show you. If it wakes up, we'll see. Come on. Are you waking up? There you go. So that's the mix panel 150, and it's just basically bouncing off of my sound blanket from Vocal Boot to Go. So you'll see that that's the deal. And if I close that right barn door, I door it down a little bit, then you won't. Sorry, I'm looking at it backwards. You won't see that as much, which I don't mind. It's a big source. So when you have reflected light in glasses, and I have anti-reflective glasses and stuff too. But yeah, saw the Nanlite projection. How do you like it? Output features. Oh, it's nice. I love a good gobo every once in a while. It has its place. I'm having fun with it right now. It's a good little product. I mean, if you're putting it on the little 60, the Forza 60C, I'm just looking at it. I'm using the 36 degree, which is about that big. I wish it was smaller, but it depends what you're putting it on. I mean, if you've got an aperture light and you're putting, optics on it, and you have lensing, then you're going to get more output just inherently from the fixture itself. But it has to match the COB or chip on board. There's some physics and there's some tuning that has to happen. That's one of the reasons that, it's nice when people design something that doesn't necessarily defy physics, but if you look at some of the pictures of the Fresnel lens for the new Pro Light for the 675, it's incredibly compact compared to what everybody else has. I haven't tried it yet, but I've heard, yeah. How do I organize cables and stuff? I don't. I mean, I do, but I use a lot of little cable ties and things like that. When you look at up here, it's not pretty, but you'll see that I'm using little ties over here for the cables that are coming off of the camera and the microphone. And that's a relatively new addition to get this set up overhead that way for what I'm doing, as opposed to just having a camera on a tripod and then putting it up against the desk and then sort of having it on an angle, which you can do. There's a cheat to that. But when you want to have a wider shot and do things, you know what I'm saying, kids. So, and I need to get some more cable organization. When I built out the space originally, it was great. It was really clean, but I just keep adding gack to this place. It's just crazy. And then the other thing that's kind of cool, I'm just going to show you, I think it's cool, is I have concrete floors, and there's these little grooves from when they poured them. I have so much cabling running through those little grooves in the ground. Um, they're like cable on top of cable on top of cable, and it's easy to pull them out because they're just running from one end of the room to the other, and it's cold down there, so I'm not really. I mean, I guess I maybe could worry about moisture, but they're all, sealed, and it's all working. Like, that's how I do my audio runs and my Ethernet runs and all that stuff. That one cable I have set up, that USB-C cable, is one of the few in the room that for like the everyday cabling that's not running into that little groove channel. It works. The little secrets, they're not secrets. All right, the last part of this puzzle, which I wanted to have happen. And by the way, this camera right here, my B camera right here, is on a slider, right? And I think I'm going to do some stuff where I'm going to go to kind of a motorized slider in the future, so you can sort of see it there. So if I go back to that camera and we put something silly in the frame, that's probably going to be out of focus because I'm just eyeballing it here, but I don't know. Does that seem like it's about? I can always just go change it. Yeah, and if I go over there, you'll see, and my audio, I'll just speak louder. Hold on. So you can see here, I've got a slider, and then if this was actually a motorized slider, trust me, I have some ideas on this, then I could just do a quick move when I'm talking about some things. And the Delio might know what I'm talking about when it comes to that, but I'm just saying. So a little slider there. I can quickly and easily change the position of where it is. That's the Zeppon Micro 2, the original. That's probably my favorite compact manual slider in terms of smoothness and stuff like that. I've heard the Micro Plus is a little bit better, and now they have the Micro 3, which, from the reviews I'm seeing, the motor system has a higher pitch sound than the Micro Plus 2 motor for the slider. So I don't think that's a good thing, but who knows? All right, so now the last piece of the puzzle, and my shoes are untied. So I'm going to tie my shoes, and then I'm going to go over and get something else, and hopefully it'll all work because I think I have to replace something. Hold on. Questions are welcome, by the way. Okay, let me go get this. I tried that Roland V8 HD. Sorry. All right. So I don't know if this is going to wake up and do what it's supposed to do. Let me see. We shall see. I'm going to stay on this camera for now. I'm waiting for something to happen. Will it happen? I don't know. It's kind of annoying. And I'll explain if I can get it to work, which I'm hoping I can. Maybe I need to cycle the camera. So the idea here is that I have a camera that's on wheels and that I can move around. And I can use it as sort of the hero camera when I'm shooting things. I got it back up. It's working. Okay, so let me show you this. So it's just on a tripod on wheels, like a tripod dolly. Not the kind that's on track, but just like you put the tripod on it, has 3 wheels, blah, blah, blah. And then here it is. And again, I'm going to have to speak loudly, but this is now a live production camera, but it's wireless. And I kind of hate the wireless system. It's an old nearest system that had in a box. But here, you'll see. And so you get the basic idea that I'll be able to switch to a wireless camera that I can move around very easily. And we're at 19. That's 20, including me. I'll take it as a win for the team, okay? So I can go wirelessly with this camera. And then I can do setups. And when I'm teaching, if I wanted to go to an interview setup or I wanted to have this on a slider, I could also do that. There's a lot of different options, but it allows me to work very, very quickly. So if I use like the Wireless Go, which I sometimes do, and I pop that into it's overkill, but not really, but I pop it into the Mix Pre 6 and I go wireless with like a headset, Tony Robbins style. Um, it's an easy way. 21. What's happening? Ding, 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 ding. Back down to 20, as I said it. It lets me just move so quickly. So, and then the other thing that I've done, like an idiot, is I have, and it's a mess over here. This is the one part I really need to clean up. So just forgive me over here because this is part of my other setup. Is into input 4 on the A10 Mini Pro. I have a HDMI switcher. So that has 3 in and 1 out. So I can do input 1, 2, 3 on the A10 Mini Pro. And then in input 4, I'm actually getting 3 more inputs if I switch between them. It's easy. But I need that freaking wireless thing to be more reliable, but I don't want to spend like $1,000. So I'm gonna look into a couple of options, try some things from Amazon and see if I can get something that's just not being so persnickety in terms of that camera. Because now when I switch back to 4, even if I go back to the right input, there's no camera. I have to walk over here. I have to, do some Hail Marys and hope that some things are going to work. And if they're not, then I have to turn the camera off, turn the camera back on. Sometimes I have to plug in, unplug the wireless thing. It's such a pain in the butt. So I need that 4th camera, especially the wireless feed. It's easy with this thing, with the iPhone. But I need that 4th camera to be a lot more reliable. I'm going to go turn it off. I'll be right back. I'm almost there. Get your questions ready if you have any. Yeah, so these ones are easy. These 3 cameras, boom, boom, boom. And then it's that 4th one. Yes, the live stream is officially of legal drinking age. Just in time for next week's Camera and Flask. Let's see what we got. Do we have any questions? I'm going to go over here if my mouse is working. Can you imagine if Bluetooth wasn't working as well? All right, I'm scrolling up here. I'm looking here. Yep. I use wireless mics on live streams, Scott, but the problem with them generally is they don't sound as good as a boom mic. So I have a setup. It's over there. I do use it. I did a thing for Westcott and Adorama a few months ago or 6 months ago. I can't even remember. I did an hour-long thing, and it works. It just doesn't sound as good. And, that bugs me. All right, let's see what we got. Cost 11s I like. Cost 11s always a little bit on the high end, though. Depends on the person's speaking voice. I think that's why so many sound recordists have like tram mics and they have cost 11s in there and they have a whole bunch of different solutions because they listen to the person's voice. Let's match them up with that microphone. Yeah, and the keyer in that Roland switcher. I won't talk about that. So have I considered wireless? Oh, that question must have come up before I showed you my wireless transmitter. Let's see. Wow. Any questions? Wait. This is a whole conversation going on about wireless audio. I'm just scrolling through. You went to the DJI wireless mics. Tell me how to pronounce your handle. Massive upgrade. I'd like to hear why it's a massive upgrade. That would be great. is a quality of sound, especially if you're plugging in an external mic. And there you go. What are you talking about? I'm not cheap. Look around this place. It's ridiculous. I just have to be smart about it. I have a problem, okay? I have a self-confessed problem. And at this age in my life, what I'm trying to do is find products that I'm going to be using all of the time that I don't mind spending money, but they have to be right. So when it comes to a wireless transmitter receiver, I think I'm going to talk myself into a corner here. All right. Maybe I should buy an expensive one. I don't know. Depends how far I go. Let's just say this. I'm going to find something that's better than what I have. This nearest thing that's been sitting in a box for... Maybe I had another one. Where's that? I have so many things. If I could find the other one seemed to be pretty reliable, but I don't know, based on the way I'm confusing everything in this system. It's probably seeing signal chains here that it doesn't understand, and it's just making everything hiccup. So I've got to find the one product on Amazon right now that doesn't hiccup. It just says, I don't care. It's an HDMI signal, wireless. I'm just spitting it out over this wire. All right. Yeah, I'm interested. Ergonomics records internally as a Whoa, DJI. I guess they don't care. Screw the patent. If they get sued, they don't care. All right. Do I have a way of adding your camera screen to one of the ATEM angles? I guess through picture-in-picture, right? I think there's a way to do that. And for live streams, I could probably do it pretty easily with Ecamm. My computer screen. I'm tracking with you. Well, you could feed it via HDMI. So you can definitely do that. For live streams, it's easy because you just go through Ecamm, and then I believe there's a picture-in-picture option that I can set up where I could just grab that, and then I can use 2 feeds and then do a picture-in-picture, if that's what you mean. But adding it to my ATEM angle, do you actually know the answer to this question and you're just messing with me, Slavic? All right, that 4 HDMI switcher into port 4 was something I would do. Yeah, it is. No question about it. I could go ATEM Extreme. It would help to a degree. I wouldn't have a switcher for sure. So from that standpoint, it would make my life easier. And I would have a dedicated input for that wireless HDMI, which I think would help solve problems with what I'm doing. I just originally thought I was only going to put that into input 4. But even when I do that, this nearest thing is hiccuping. So maybe I need to go, was it Axoon? I think they have a relatively inexpensive solution. I need to get something that's designed for cameras. And then hopefully, and the prices on all those ATEMs are going down too. Look, we got 2 minutes left. Yeah, well, nobody loves rigging lavs on talent, but whether it's wired or wireless, you still gotta rig it. No one likes rigging talent. Even maybe some sound recordists don't mind it. If they like it, it might be a little creepy. Pico Gear, Pico Mic makes perfect small mics, but they are not there yet for quality. So the size is nearly perfect. Copy. All right, here we are. Last minute. Not last minute. We're down to 19, which probably means that it's time for me to end this show. There's another show on every day that B&H does their deal zone, and it's called the Dealio. Dealio, if you have a link to that, why don't you share that? Because it's fun. I did get to 22 as a peak. Hey, question for the group. I just got an ATEM Mini Pro and has a buzzing sound that can be heard via the mic inputs. Oh, that's missing information. Those mic inputs, you mean the little 1/8" ones, the mini jacks? They're garbage. I've had problems with those forever. That's why I go mix pre 6.2 into the camera and then carry my audio into it via HDMI. Missing information, Delio, if that's what you're talking about. I don't know. Those mic inputs are garbage. It's a missing piece of information. Teradek bolt. Yeah, I could go that way for sure. Zoom secretly dropped a few 32-bit mics on B&H. Filter by newest products. Zoom M3. So I don't think so. Delio. Colin, thank you very much. I thought you bailed a while ago. And see you next time. Next week is Cameron Flask. What do we got? The C4 doing all right. Use the camera into HDMI. Yes. Yes. I'm out. The in-laws are here. I'm thirsty. I have more work to do. My phone's been off for an hour. Who knows what to do? Do we ever dress our ears? I think they're always naked, unless you have big earmuffs on them. Just saying. That's where I'm going. Next week, Cameron Flask, 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern. Myself, Ben Barden, Caleb Pike, hopefully all of you. Year end, grab a drink, have fun. See you next time.